Hello there. Who is God to you? That's a question for the religious. But to the spiritual, I would rather say, what is God to you? So that's a topic, reflection for the moment. But first, if you're new here, we'll be glad you subscribe to our channel as well as hit on the notification bell such that whenever there's something new, you're notified in real time. So let's dive in. What is God to you? What is God to you? Or who is God to you? What does that word God mean to you? If God is a who to you, then I'll ask you to kindly turn to Deuteronomy, the book of Deuteronomy, chapters 32, and let's brainstorm a little bit to see what exactly or who exactly God could be. In Deuteronomy chapters 32, one of my favorites in the Bible, I always tell Christians to draw to that, to meditate on that chapter. You'd see that in the entire chapter, especially in verses 8 and 9 of that chapter. Turn to it, please do. You don't need to believe in what I say, it's for your own freedom. In verses 8 and 9, you see very clearly that there is a being that is higher than Yahweh. In that chapter, in that book, that being is higher than Yahweh. And Yahweh is believed by Christians and Muslims to be God, the Supreme One. The creator of everything is above everyone. That chapter rather tells you the contrary. And that is truth. So that being partitions the peoples of the earth and the places of the earth to other gods, among whom is Yahweh. So Yahweh is a being like many other beings in stages, to whom a higher being, referred to as the Most High, partitions the peoples of the earth, gives them, and to Yahweh he gives the Jews. That's why consistently throughout the Tanakh, that's the Jewish Bible, what Christians have as Old Testament, with a little bit of modifications, that being constantly refers to the Jews as his people, and the being is right because he was given the Jews as his own inheritance. He is the commander of the Jews. He is the God of the Jews and not the God of other populations or other peoples, to whom the Most High in that chapter partitioned the earth and attributed different races to, different peoples too. So that alone disqualifies Yahweh from being God because there's someone higher than him who gives him command, who gives him authority over just the Jews. So can Yahweh be God? Is Yahweh the person you're referring to as God? Then you have to answer a lot of questions as to who, for example, is that higher being, higher than him, that gave him authorship over the Jews. And you have to answer questions as to why Yahweh is extremely discriminatory. He's ruthless. Those who don't toe the line are wiped out of the surface of the earth. And he has one people, his people, and the others are not his people. He commands his people to do away with those who are not his people. And if Jesus, the Christ, is God that took flesh, then Jesus is that being that is doing all that destruction, who is that ruthless, that jealous of the Old Testament. So you have a big problem. But when you replace the word who with the word what is God, coming to the understanding that God cannot be matter, that God cannot be hateful, God cannot be a genocider, God cannot be that discriminatory. Some people are his people and others are not. Then you begin walking towards absolute consciousness. God becomes what and not who, a person. God becomes that eternal force that brings matter into being. God becomes the unified field from which something transformed no thing into something. That is God. Everyone can access it. I said it, not him. Everyone can access it. Everyone has equal potentials to get to it. Like the sun and the rain, for everybody. That is God. Not for some particular people who toe the line, or some particular people referred to as God's people, or to some particular people who must believe in some certain dogmas in order to belong. It is a God for everybody, for all, in all. That is God. And that's why a kid from birth, from the age of reason, about 1.5 years, already knows what is wrong and what is right, because God is in everyone. Everyone can be accessed by everyone, those who seek. That silent voice always talking in everyone. There's that flame in everyone. That is God. So, what is God to you? If God to you is limited to the God of the holy books, you're in trouble. If God to you cannot be bounded in a book, cannot be bound in a religion, cannot be confiscated by anyone, then you're on the right track. And you too can access that God if you want to. So I leave you with Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8 and 9. That will be the beginning of your journey towards the unified field, towards absolute consciousness. Thank you for following. If you enjoy our content, you could like, share, comment on the channel such that the word gets out. Lots of people could be transformed through you.